So you can begin by bringing your hands to your heart center, taking a few deep breaths, and forming an intention for the session ahead. Making your way over onto your back, getting nice and comfy, and then bringing your hands and your feet into the air. Rotating our ankles and our wrists clockwise. So trying to bring them all into the same direction. This is actually quite tricky. Warming up the joints as best you can, and then bringing it in the opposite direction. Taking the wrists and the ankles counterclockwise. Getting the most amount of movement out of all of your joints. Then bending the knees, bringing them in towards the chest and rotating the knees in circles, warming up the hip joints a little bit. Taking that in the other direction. Moving slowly or quickly, however feels good for you. Making your way back up to a seated position, and then bringing the soles of the feet together, allowing your knees to drop out to the sides. So we all have very different bodies, very different levels of flexibility. Feel free to use blocks to support your knees, to support the stretch going on in your hips. You can also just use cushions or bolsters or things like that if you've got them lying around the house to really squish into any gaps so that your pose is supported and works for you. Breathing deep and placing the emphasis on creating openness through your heart by rolling your shoulders back and sitting up beautifully and tall. When you're ready to come out of it, you can remove any blocks or cushions. So you can bring your left foot by your right hip as if you were sitting cross-legged, and then placing the foot in the crook of your elbow. It's a bit of a strange pose, I'm not going to lie to you. It's called rock the baby, and the idea here is that you can move your hip joint, creating warmth, creating openness. Also flexing your foot, creating some warmth through the ankle joint. After your rock the baby, you can come into half lotus pose. So again, this looks different for all of us. You can prop your knee if it's wanting to sit up higher, or you can rest it upon your left foot if that's possible for you. We can place the palms facing up, or even coming to a little mudra, bringing our index finger to touch your thumb and breathing in deeply here. So if the lotus pose or half lotus pose isn't accessible to you, then find a cross-legged pose or find any other seated pose that works for you. The aim of all yoga is to prepare the body so that the mind can become still through meditation. So don't get caught up in where you are and where you think you should be, and just enjoy it and modify it to make it work for you. We can bring our right foot to come by our left hip, and then we can come into rock the baby on the other side. So you might notice that one hip feels really different from the other hip. This is also really normal. So just playing with moving it round in circles, rocking that leg, creating openness through the hip joint. The hips are thought to be the seat of the emotions. in yoga. So this is where if we get kind of stuck or uptight or we're suppressing anything, sometimes doing yoga based around opening the hips can help this to move. So bringing the left foot down, placing it towards the top of the right leg, using blocks if you'd like to underneath the knee to support the pose, and then again placing the hands upon the knees, palms facing up. Padmasana, half lotus pose on the other side. Sitting up as tall as you can. Breathing as deeply as you can. When you're ready to come out, bringing both legs in front of you, we can give the knees a little jiggle, allowing them to relax after that deep stretch, and then coming into a forward fold. We can place the hands on the shins, on the thighs, or down to the feet if they reach. Lengthening on the inhalation, deepening on the exhalation. Keeping the focus with your breath, rather than worrying about how flexible you are, which really has nothing to do with anything. So making our way into our next round, we've got the option here of bringing the right foot towards the top of the left leg, and then bringing the left foot towards the top of the right leg in full lotus pose. So this pose requires quite deep flexibility in the hips and also in the ankles. Be sure to prop up under your knees or hips if you're finding that they want to raise. We want to have both the knees and the sit bones on the floor here. And feel free to do a half lotus or a cross-legged position if the full lotus is just too much. Whichever variation you're in, keeping your attention on your breath. Taking a moment for a more meditative practice. As we exhale, slowly allowing the legs to come out of the pose, bringing them in front of you. Again, jiggling the knees. Inhaling, reaching up, exhaling, folding over. Bending deeply into this. Inhaling, coming back up to sitting. And we come to Padmasana with the opposite leg on top. So this time we're going to bring the left foot to the top of the right leg and then place the right foot on the top of the left leg. You might need to place a block under your knee. It might feel very different from one side to the other. I find that on this side, I find it much more comfortable if I'm using a block, whereas on the other side, I'm really able to do it without. So we're all on a different continuum. We all have different flexibility levels, and coming to accept that is really one of the most amazing things about yoga. Of course, we can develop limitlessly, but we also are where we are right now, and that's okay. This is true yoga. Accepting the union, the connection with all other things that's present from right where we are now. As we exhale, slowly allowing the legs to come out of the pose, bringing them in front of you. Again, jiggling the knees. Inhaling, reaching up, exhaling, folding over. So keep playing with this theme of non-competitiveness, of acceptance of wherever you are right now. using all of these positions as an opportunity to inquire how your body feels right now. It might feel a little bit tight, and that's fine. It might feel like it doesn't want to do a pose and it wants to do something different. That's also fine. So listen to what your body says and act upon that information. This is true yoga. So we're going to end by doing some more twists through the wrists and the ankles, again taking them all in a clockwise direction, taking them all in an anti-clockwise direction. Working through any clicky points, thanking these amazing joints for supporting you through the poses that we've just done. And then when you're ready, coming to lie down in our rest pose. Bringing the knees to the outsides of the mat, dropping them together, palms facing up. All lying with our legs wide as mat width apart, keeping the palms facing up in Shavasana. As always, this is an amazing opportunity to just focus on your breath. Use the full capacity of your lungs. Set the intention to relax a little bit deeper with every out-breath. And stay here for at least a minute or two longer. Of course, stay here for as long as you like. This is when all of the benefits of your practice are absorbed. I thank you so much for going along with this video today. There's plenty more where this came from, so subscribe if you're enjoying it. Namaste.